This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, going Rabbi side, we're learning Sefer Hoshea. Last week we learned from the Malbim that the first pasuk gives us the timeline not only from the Malchei Yehuda but also from the Malchei Yisrael, Yeravam ben Yoash. And Rashi brings down the Divrei Chazal that the reason is based on the Gemara that because Yeravam was not Mekabel Lashon Hara on Amos, he was Zoiche, says the Gemara Pesachim, that he was enumerated as one of the Malachim that reigned during the prophecy of Hoshea. However, the Malbim explained a little bit differently, and that is that from the time that Yoash conquered Amatzia, the king of Yehuda, the Malchei Yehuda were nichna under the dominion of the Malchei Yisrael, and therefore that is why the Malchei Yisrael are listed here. And that's why by the Nevuah of Yeshaya, it doesn't mention Yeravam, because then Uzziah already regained his own independent Melucha. Okay. We also spoke out in Pasuk Beis, Tchilas Diber Hashem b'Hoshea, the beginning of God speaking to Hoshea, which meant as follows. The Gemara in Bava Basra asked, what do you mean in the beginning of God's speaking to Hoshea? When in fact Hoshea was not the first Navi that God spoke to, but the Gemara says of the four Nevi'im that prophesied during that era, namely Hoshea, Yeshaya, Amos, and Micha, Hoshea received prophecy first. Now we're about to learn one of the most difficult prophecies in the whole Tanakh, and there are going to be three different ways of learning it. So let's begin. Tchilas Divar Hashem b'Hoshea. In the beginning of God speaking to Hoshea, Vayomer Hashem el Hoshea. God said to Hoshea, Lech, go, Kach lecha, take for yourself, Eishes Zenunim, a Zoina, V'yaldei Zenunim, and children born from that union. Why? Ki zanoi sizne haaretz me'achrei Hashem. Because the earth has strayed from upon God. Now, why in the world would God tell Hoshea to marry a Zoina? What kind of shidduch is that? We know there's sometimes there's shidduch crisis, but that's not the answer, to marry a Zoina. Well, Rashi brings down Rabbi Seinu Amru, Kemashmoi. Says Rashi, Chazal interpret this literally. And we'll see why. I'm not going to read the rest of Rashi, we'll get to that. What does it mean, V'yaldei Zenunim? How do you take Zoina children? That just means, Shateled l'cha yeladim, sheyiu sfeikei mamzeros. She will bear children to you, and they will be safek mamzeros. Why? Because if she's a Zoina, then we don't necessarily know who the father is. Okay. However, Rashi points out that Yonasan translates this whole episode differently. Rashi says, "V'yonasan tergem is navi nevua al yasvei kirta ta'avasa." Speak nevua on the inhabitants of this perverted city. V'kach ha'amor kan. When it says kach, lashon limodhu. It's a language of teaching. Lamedoi son, teach them lashav b'tshuva. It does. When he says kach lecha, it doesn't mean to take, to wed, like kicha, kiyikach yeshisha. Kach means teach the Jewish people about this episode. But according to Targum Yonasan ben Uziel, this did not actually occur. Says the Targum, take a look in the Targum. Shirayos piskama da Hashem b'Hoshea, the opening statement of God to Hoshea, va'amar Hashem l'Hoshea, ezel go isnabe nevua al yasvei karta ta'avasa. On the inhabitants of this deviant city, Di'inun moisifin lemechte. They add to their sin, Are mita yitun daire ara. The inhabitants of the land are in error. Mibasar pulchana Hashem, straying away from the service of God. Well, we'll read some more Targum as we go along. So, Pasuk Gimel, Vayelech, he went, Vayikach, he took as Goimer bas Divloyim. He took this woman, Goimer, the daughter of Divloyim, Vatar, she conceived, Vateled Loibein, and she gave birth to a son. Vayomer Hashem Elav, and Hashem said to him, Kara Shema Yisrael, call him Yisrael. Why? Ki oid me'at, because in a little bit, Ufakadati estimei Yisrael al beis Yehu. I will visit the blood of Yisrael on the house of Yehu. I will be punishing the house of Yehu for shedding the blood of Yisrael. Even though Yehu himself was commanded to kill the Yisrael, because to knock out anyone who served Baal, but Yehu himself stumbled up in the dust of Avodah Zarah, and therefore he was held accountable. In other words, if you're going to punish somebody for an Aveira that they do, you better be clean of that Aveira perfectly. And Yehu was not, and therefore he was punished for killing the Beis Yehu. The one who killed Yehu, the Beis Yehu was not clean of that Aveira, and therefore they're being punished for the blood of Yisrael. V'hishbati mamlechus Beis Yisrael, and I will cause to cease Malchus from the house of Israel.
Yehu was after Achav, no?
Okay.
I'm trying to get the time.
In other words, what happened was Yehu killed the house of Achav in Yisrael. And what happened was, because Yehu then served the Baal himself, therefore I consider the house... Yehu was commanded to wipe out the house of Achav because Achav served the Baal. Yeah. But when Yehu then slipped up in the Baal, he was then held accountable for spilling innocent blood. Let's read a few psukim, and we're going to learn the different ways of learning this. So, v'haya v'yom hahu, and it was on that day, v'shavarti es keshes Yisrael, I will break the bow of Klal Yisrael, of Israel, be'emek Yisrael, in the valley of Yisrael. V'ataharoid, and she conceived further, v'ateled bas, and she gave birth to a daughter. Vayomer lo, and he said to him,
do we know this from Hoshea or
Yeah.
from somebody else?
We don't know. She conceived a child. That's there's Svekei Mamzeros. Vayomer lo, he said to him, Kara Shema lo ruchama. Call her name, no mercy. Ki lo oisef oid arachim es beis Yisrael. I will no longer have mercy on the house of Israel. Ki nasai es alahem. I will distribute to them their punishment. V'es beis Yehuda arachim. But the house of Yehuda I will show mercy. V'hoishatim, and I will save them. B'Hashem Elokeim. V'lo oishiem b'keshes u'v'cherev u'v'melchama. I will not save them with bow and sword and war. B'susim u'v'farashim, with horse and chariot and cavalry. V'atigmal es lo ruchama. And she weaned lo ruchama. V'atar, she conceived ateled bein. She had another son. Vayomer, and he said, Karashimai loyami, say, he is not my people. Ki atem loyami, you are not my people. Va'anoichi loyeh lachem, and I will not be for you. What a beautiful nevuah. Parak Aleph of Sefer Hoshea.
So this Hoshea was a contemporary of Yeshaya, right?
He was before Yeshaya.
It was a little bit before.
A little before.
So then he lived in Malchus Yisrael.
That's what the first pasuk says. Yes.
So and
now, no, but he also lived during the four Malchei Yehuda, Bimei Uzziah, Yoisam, Achaz, and Chizkiyahu.
yes.
So Rabbi say, what in the world is going on here? Why would God come to a Navi, tell him to marry a Zoina, and then give them three of the most, at least one of the name okay, but two of the names are quite insulting to the Jewish people, Loi Ruchama and Loi Ami. What is going on here? So let's see Targum Yonatan ben Uziel, we'll see the Ibn Ezra, we'll see the Radak, and we'll see the Gemara. Okay, so the Targum said that this is a nevuah. And the word kicha does not mean take, does not mean marry. It means limud. It means limud. It means to teach. Says the Targum Pasuk Gimel. Va'azal and govis nabi alehoin. Prophecy on them. De'im yisuvun. If they do tshuva, yishtavek lahoin. They will be left alone. Ve'imla. Kimtar ale seinin yitrun. Va'oisifu va'avadu oivadin bishin. But if they don't, and instead they add and continue to perform bad actions, Va'amar Hashem le kirosh shemhoin mevad raya. call their name Mivadraya. Now what does that mean? Yisrael. Are oid sivchar kize'er ve'asar dam polche ta'avasa da'ashad yehu be'Yisrael. De katlinon al deflach levala. What will happen is, if they continue to serve Avodah Zarah, as evident in the blood that Yehu spilled in Yisrael, who Yehu killed the Nevi'ei Habal, Tavu inon lemite basar eglaya de deveisel, b'chein achashvine dam zakai al beis Yehu va'avatem al chusam beis Yisrael. Because the Beis Yehu was also guilty in serving the Baal, and the Beis Yehu killed the Beis Achav, I will deem that innocent blood. V'hebi idona, he will be at that time ve'et bar yas to koif avdei kirav Yisrael b'meishar Yisrael. I will break the strength of the warriors of Israel in the valley of Israel. V'oisifu v'avadu oivadin bishin. They're going to continue to do bad. In other words, this is a prophecy of Klal Yisrael continuing to do bad. V'amar lei krei shemayin de lo rachimin. In other words, according to Targum, in the prophecy, Hoshea did not marry the Zaina, and he did not have these children. This is a prophecy that Hoshea is having of the snowball sins that the Jewish people are going to be performing. This never happened. It didn't even happen in a prophecy. It never happened. These words are merely a mashal to prophecy that the Jewish people will sin and continue to sin. So the first sin of taking the Zaina and getting married and having this kid Yisrael.
Didn't say he got married.
This is merely a symbolism of the Jewish people killing the Beis Yehu, and they themselves stumbling in worshipping the Baal, which is akin to Znus. So it's not that Hoshea saw in a prophecy that he married this Zaina. That is merely a way of God saying to him that this symbolizes the fact that the Jewish people will be guilty of Avodah Zarah, and that did happen when the Beis Yehu worshipped Baal. And then they're going to sin further, and you're going to call them loy rachimin. V'oisifu v'avadu pasuk vav oivadin bishin v'amar lei, and he said karei shemhain de loy rachimin v'oivadehain arei loy oisef oid l'rachama beis Yisrael. I will no longer have mercy on Klal Yisrael. Bram im yisuvun. However, if they do tshuva eshmaik lahaim, things will be good. V'al de Beis Yehuda erachim, but I will have mercy on the Beis Yehuda. Now, what is this a reference to? That God is saying, I will not have mercy on the Beis Yisrael, but I will have mercy on the Beis Yehuda. Says Rashi, after I destroy Malchus Yisrael, which is when the Aser Sashratim were exiled, the Beis Yehuda will be shown mercy, and that was evident from Chizkiyahu until Tzidkiyahu.
You just said that exile, the Aser Shvatim, there's a difference between Golos and destruction.
Okay, so let's see Pasuk Ches on the Targum. V'darehoin de iskalihu levene amamaya ishtakachu. Those who are exiled among the nations will be forgotten, because they will have no good qualities in their actions, and they will continue to do bad. And they will be called loy ami. And they're not my nation, because they did not fulfill the command of the Torah. So basically, this is a prophecy of the exile and disappearance of the Aser Sashratim. That is the way the Targum learns. Nowhere, according to the Targum, Hoshea never married this woman. He didn't even marry her in his vision. This is just merely God's way of telling him of the continuous sin.
It's a metaphor.
It's a metaphor. In other words, it didn't even happen in prophecy. Which is difficult to say, because there's a klal in mikra yotze midei pshutai. At least to say that it happened, maybe he saw it in his prophecy, but that it didn't happen at all. But that is apparently the opinion of the Targum. Now, the Ibn Ezra, let's see if we could find it. The Ibn Ezra over here, Pasuk Beis. Let's see from Pasuk Beis, okay? The Ibn Ezra. Now, let's start from the beginning of the Ibn Ezra. Let's see if we could make heads or tails. Which Hoshea is this? Because we know there was more than one Hoshea. There was Hoshea ben Be'eri, and there's also Hoshea ben Elah. Now, which one is this? Says Ibn Ezra, Zeh Hoshea min Aviyei Hashem hanechbadim. This Hoshea was one of the most honorable prophets of God. Ki hayitzchaki diber sara b'sifrei alav. The Yitzchaki. Now, who's the Yitzchaki? The Yitzchaki speaks foreign in his sefer on him. Shamar shu ben Elah. Now, where does Rashi say that? Ki be'erihu Elah. Ki yimtza kasuv ube'er elim yilalasa. Ve'ein Elah elim. Says Ibn Ezra, Elah is not elim ki bavar ois noisef yishtana Hashem. The extra letter completely changes it. Kamay zayif v'zifa v'oid ki ein mishpa lashon hakodesh leimar al sham prat shu ben ir rakim haya al derech klal kamay bas tzion. And therefore,
Hoshea ben Elah was the one who took down the barriers that prevented Jews from going to Yerushalayim. So he was at the very end of Malchei Yisrael.
yeah. Well, ve'ein perushay kasher chashav. V'hinei shachach hakosov al Hoshea ben Elah v'yasa hara b'inei Hashem. How could you say that this Hoshea is the Hoshea of which the Torah writes, Vayas hara b'inei Hashem. V'hayitzchaki Omar, says Ibn Ezra, Rashi says, Shalokach Esha Zenunim, that he took a Zaina. V'zeh Hamuka b'sanverim. This is like blindness. Haloi re'ei kasav tchilas diba Hashem b'Hoshea. Vayomer Hashem. V'hinei loymar api Hashem. Chalila, Chalila. He never rebelled against God, heaven forbid. Rak Hoshea ben Be'eri einenu Hoshea ben Elah. Kamay Chanoich Shem Kol Arba'a Anoshim. Just like the word Chanoich is a name for 4 people in the Tanakh, the Torah, V'shol Merchavis Hanor, V'shol ben Aknanis, V'shol ben Kish, V'rabim Kacha. V'tchilas Nevuah Zeh Hanovi Al Malchus Yeram ben Yoyash Melech Yisrael Abam Shana Lefnei Gol Sharman. And if this nevuah was at the end of the days of Yeravam, Kiloi Malach Zechariah b'nai Acharak Shisha Chadashim, so the Ibn Ezra rejects the idea that he rebelled against God by living with this Isha Zaina, and that Hoshea ben Be'eri is not Hoshea ben Elah. And then he quotes another Mefarish, Achar Amar, Ki lech kach lecha diber hu ketam lekach toiv. The word kach is a language of lekach toiv, meaning teaching. Upiresh vatar kamay taharu. Cheshash teldu kash. Taharu doesn't mean to conceive.
Everywhere else.
But rather it means kamay taharu cheshash teledu. Kash. V'yamar ki goimer Gemura biznus ubas develim remez Yehuda v'Yisrael. So says the Ibn Ezra about this. No'oma Avraham Hamachaber chalila chalila. Forbidden, heaven forbid. Sheyitzava Hashem lakachas eshes zenunim ulahoyled yalde zenunim. V'ha'omer dayer le'eved lios karabai. Well, what do you want from the guy? That's what his Rabbi said to do. So what do you want from him? No. Loy nemer al zeh. It's not talking about this. Even though there's a rule, dayer le'eved lios karabai, but not on this. Kiznus me'achrei Hashem. Znus is from behind God. Derech Moshe, rak ba'adam hu. B'masa. Says the Ibn Ezra, how do I understand this? V'hanochoin be'enai kizeh hanavi hu roya b'marois nevuah v'chaloim halayla shah Hashem amar loy lech kach l'cha isha zenunim v'holach v'lokach isha yedua v'harasa v'yolda kol zeh b'marois hanevuah. All of this he saw in a vision. Kasher piresh. Like the Pasuk says in last week's Parsha, in Parsha Ba'alosim, Yeh Niviyachem, Levad mi Moshe Levadei Hashem, B'mara Elav Esvada, B'chaloim Adar Rabbi. Says the Ibn Ezra, only Moshe Rabbeinu saw Nevuah b'hakitz. Everybody else saw it b'chaloim halayla. And in that case, Hoshea also, he never did this. He saw himself doing it b'nevuah. V'yal Tisman, don't wonder, Eich Yira b'chaloim. How could he see in a dream? V'yilach, v'yikach, v'hine b'chaloim Adam. B'loi nevuah. V'toichalna haparos. B'kach al Yeshayo hanovi kasher holach avdei Yeshayo orum v'yachev zeh hoye b'mar nevuah. Now, in other words, he didn't do it in the nevuah. This is what he saw. V'hine kasav ba'avram b'machazeh v'chein hoysa kol nevuasai. So this is the opinion of the Ibn Ezra, that this is some type of prophecy. However, the Gemara, Rabbi Sai, has a completely different take on this. Okay, and this is really what we're going to focus on today. The Gemara in Masechta Pesachim on Daf Pei Zayin understands this completely differently. Says the Gemara, Diber Hashem asher haya el Hoshea b'mei Uziyahu yoisam achaz Yichizkiyahu Malat Melech Yehuda b'perek echad nesnabu dala neviim. At one time in history there were 4 prophets. V'gadol shebechulan Hoshea. Hoshea was the greatest among all of them. Shenemar tchilas diber Hashem b'Hoshea v'chi b'Hoshea diber tchila. Did Hashem speak to Hoshea first? V'haloi mi Moshe ad Hoshea kama neviim. Amar Rabbi Yochanan tchila li'arba neviim shenesnavu b'Osei haparak. He was the first of 4 neviim that prophesied during that time. Ve'ilohein Hoshea, Yeshaya, Amos, Umicha. Says the Gemara Pesachim Daf Pei Zayin. If there are other Gemaras, it's kedai to see it. Okay, so it says the Gemara. This is really the background to understand whether this is a prophecy, or whether he did it in a prophecy, or it's a mashal, or even if he actually did it. Still, what's the message of this prophecy? Why is this happening here? Well, says the Gemara. Amar lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Says Rebbe Shem to Hoshea. Hoshea, banecha chatu, your children sinned. Now, if Hashem comes to Klal Yisrael, or Hashem comes to a Navi and says, your children sinned, what should have Hoshea said back?
Not my children.
My children, they're your children. What do you want from me? I'm not their father. You're the father. He should have said, banechaim, they're your children. Banai chanunechaim, they are the sons of your beloved one. Bnei Avram, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov. What do you want from my life? They're your great people. They're the progenitor. Don't stay on the camera. They're great progenitors' children. Banecha chatu, v'haya lo yilaymar bnei chanunechaim, bnei Avram, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov. Gilgal rachamecha aleyan. Please let your mercy overcome them. Says the Gemara, it's not enough that he didn't say this. Ela Amar Lefanov. You know what Hoshea said? Ribono shel olam. Kol ha'olam shalcha hu. The whole world belongs to you. He'avirim b'ma'acheres. Exchange them for another people. What Hoshea said to the Ribono shel olam was, not only didn't he say the Bnei Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, deal with them, he said, get rid of them. The world belongs to you. So what do you need Jews for? Take the Italians, take the Mexicans, take the Jamaicans, take the Japanese. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, ma esel hazaken zeh. What should I do to this old man? So Omer Loi, I'm going to say to him, Lech go, v'kach isha zoina, take a promiscuous woman, v'hoilad l'cha banim zanunim, and have children, v'achar kach Omer Loi, and then I'm going to say to him, Shilcha me'al panecha, send them away. If he could send away these children, then I'll send away the Jewish people. Afani ashalech es Yisrael shenemar, vayomer Hashem el Hoshea, lech kach lecha eshes znunim, v'yaldei zanunim, uksiv, vayelech, vayikach es goimer bas devloyim. Now the Gemara is going to darshan. What kind of names are these? Goimer bas devloyim. Goimer amarav shahakol goimrim ba. Everybody completed with her. What does that mean? Everyone completed their bia and their taiva with her. Bas divloyim. Diba ra. Divloyim is diba ra. Bas diba ra. 2 dibais. In other words, he spoke badly on them. Ushmuel Amar Shemesuka b'fi hakol kedvela. She was sweet to everyone like a fig. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Shakol Doshin ba kedvela. Everyone stepped on her like a dried fig. Davar acher Goimer Amar Rabbi Yehuda Shebikshu legamre mamaynon shel Yisrael biyameh. They wanted to waste away the money of the Jewish people in her days. The Gemara continues, Vatar vater loy bein, vayemer Hashem elav, karashma Yisrael, ki oid ma'ad ufakadati estamei Yisrael al beis Yehu, v'hishbati mimalchus beis Yehuda. Vatar oid vater oid bas, vayemer loy karashma loy ruchama, ki loy oisef oid arachim es beis Yisrael, ki nasa es olahem. Vatar vater oid bein, vayemer Hashem elav, karashma loy ami, ki atem loy ami, v'anoichi loy eilachem. Liacher shenodu l'shnei banim ubas achas. So here he has a nice little family. 2 boys and a girl. Amar le'akadosh baruch hu Hoshea, lo hayalachal lomad mi Moshe. Now separate from your wife. Learn from your great Rabbi Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu separated from his wife. So why don't you separate from your wife?
It wasn't his wife. It was a zona.
No, she was a zona, but he married her.
It doesn't say that.
Sure, kach. Kach is marriage. The Gemara is taking it literally. Take her away.
Kadosh Baruch Hu told him to do it. Moshe didn't marry Tzipporah because the Kadosh Baruch Hu told him. He
No. Yeah, but now Hashem's saying to send her away. Shekivan shedibarti imay pirish min ha'isha. When I spoke to him, he separated from his wife. Avata b'dolatz chamena. Amalai Ribono shel olam. Yesh li banu mimena. You're not to divorce your wife if you have kids from her. V'einani yachal leitziav lo legarsh. I can't take her out. I can't divorce her. Amar lei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Uma ata she'ishtecha zayna, uvanecha zanunim. Your wife's a zayna. Your children are bnei zanunim. And even so, ve'inata yoidea im shel chahin. You don't even know if they belong to you. Im shel acherim hin. And yet you love them so much you can't send away your wife and kids. Me, who I know they're my children. Kach Yisrael, shehein banai, bnei bechuni, bnei Avraham, Yitzchak v'Yaakov. Echad me'arba kinyanim shekanisa ba'ilami. One of the 4 kinyanim that I acquired in my world. What are they? Torah kinyan echad. One of the kinyanim is Torah. D'chsiv Hashem kanani reishes darkai. Shamayim va'oretz kinyan echad. D'chsiv koinei shamayim va'oretz. Beis hamikdash kinyan echad. D'chsiv har zeh kansa yaminoi. Yisrael kinyan echad. D'chsiv amzu kanisa. So they are one of my 4 kinyanim. V'yata amarta haviram b'uma acheres. You want me to exchange them? Kivan sheyada shachata. When Hoshea realized he sinned, Amad levakish rachamim al atzmai. He went to ask for mercy for himself. Amar leKadosh Baruch Hu, Ad she'atam vakish rachamim al atzmai v'yishrachamim al Yisrael. Why are you asking mercy for yourself? Ask mercy for the Jewish people. Shegazarti alem sholosh gzeros baburecha. Because of you, I made 3 decrees. Amad ubikesh rachamim ubitel gzera v'hischel lebarchan. He started to bless them, and that's the beginning of Parak Beis. Shenemar V'haya mispar b'nei Yisrael k'chol hayam. V'haya b'makam asher yoymer lohem lo yamiyatem yoymer lohem b'nei kelchai. V'nikbitzu b'nei Yehuda u'b'nei Yisrael yachdav.
Why did he have 3 zeros from Israel because of what he did? He did what Hashem told him to do. So why would the zeros be put on a...
Hashem told him to do it after he said something inappropriate, and it was a test. Hashem told him to do it and then to separate, but he couldn't separate. He couldn't do what Hashem did. He wasn't able to do what Hashem commanded. He said no, he's not going to. He didn't.
So the second child was because of his own volition, not because of...
All 3 children are from... What do you mean? After the 3 children, Hashem said to separate, and he didn't listen.
But the 3 children he had were because the Kodesh Baruch Hu told him to have relations with the Kona.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what the Gemara says.
So not because of the children, the Zeres because he didn't separate.
Correct. No, the Xeris was because he criticized Kal Yisrael. He said, exchange them for another nation. And Hashem said, exchange them for another nation? You couldn't do that to your own children. You want me to do that to my children?
There's a thing in Pirkei Avos.
Yeah.
It says, Chamisha kinyonim kono HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'elomo ve'elu heim Torah kinyonechot, Shamayim v'oretz kinyonechot, Avraham kinyonechot, Yisrael kinyonechot, Beis HaMikdash. So there's 5.
Let me see. Says the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, Perek Vav, Mishnah, Chamisha kinyonim kono HaKadosh Baruch Hu, ve'elu heim Torah, Shamayim v'oretz, Avraham, Beis HaMikdash, and Yisrael. Torah, the Hashem generation is darker. Interesting, it doesn't bring down the pasuk Koine Shemayim Va'aretz.
There's a Brisa because there's only really 5 prakim. This is the 6th parak, which is a Brisa.
I'm going to answer that we're going to, right? So it's a shaila in Pirkei Avos. The raya for Shemayim V'aretz is Koyamar Hashem Hashemayim Kisi V'aretz Adamar is Machem Nuchasi, and it says Avraham Kisiv Koine Shemayim V'aretz Yisrael Ayam Amzu Kanisa. Now, where does it say Hashemayim Kisi V'aretz Hadayim Raglav?
At the end of at the last parak in Yeshaya.
So in the Schus HaRabbim, I have a beautiful chiddush. You ready? So stira between Pirkei Avos and the Gemara over here. In fact, the Misaras Hashas Luchar is bothered by that kasha because on the side of the Gemara it says Avos, Parak Vav, and referring to that Mishnah that it says 5. How does our Gemara know that Shamayim Va'aretz is a kinyan? Because it says Koine Shamayim Va'aretz. Strangely, in Pirkei Avos it doesn't bring that pasuk. Why? It's like this. This is what Hashem told Hoshea. Hashem can't tell Hoshea that Shamayim Va'aretz is a kinyan because it says Hashemayim Kisu Aretz Hadayim Ragloi, because that nevuah didn't happen yet. That was in Yeshaya. So Hashem has to use the pasuk Koine Shamayim Va'aretz going on Shamayim Va'aretz. Memela, you don't have a pasuk for Avram Avinu, so it can only be 4. But once Pirkei Avos, then we could learn out Shamayim Va'aretz from Hashemayim Kisu Aretz Hadayim Ragloi. So how do you know? And then Koine Shamayim Va'aretz is extra for Avram Avinu. Maybe.
But Avraham Avinu was before all these people.
Correct. But the pasuk Koine Shamayim Va'aretz is the kinyan going on Shamayim Va'aretz, or is the kinyan going on Avraham Avinu? So in Pirkei Avos, the Pirkei Avos learns it's going on Avraham Avinu. The Gemara is learning it's going on Shamayim Va'aretz. The Gemara has to say it's going on Shamayim Va'aretz because we don't know the pasuk Hashemayim Kisi Va'aretz Hadam Raglov yet, because that happened in Yeshaya. Yeshaya is after Hoshea.
But not necessarily all of him. In other words, Hoshea came before, but there's no reason that everything that was said by Hoshea is before everything that was said by Yeshaya. That's not necessarily so.
Well, see, interesting, the Gemara in Psachim learns that the pasuk Tchilas Dibar Hashem b'Hoshea is that he was Gadol Shebechulan. I don't think that's what the Gemara Baba Basra says, that it was Gadol Shebechulan. I think he says he was first. Here the Gemara says, Shahaya Tchila La'arba Navim Shnistav Oisa Parak. That's what the Gemara says in Bava Basra. The Gemara in Psachim says that Gadol Shebechulan. Gadol Shebechulan. Char means the greatest.
Yeah, but in other words, it's not so. There were four Nevi'im that were in this period.
Right.
But it doesn't say anywhere where everything Hoshea said was before everything Yeshaya said. They were
Contemporary.
They could have overlapped.
Right.
They could have overlapped.
Yeah. Of course, if you were not a whole, those who say Yeshaya was two or more Nevi'im, that's something else. That's not kosher. The business about there two Nevi'im named Yeshaya. Everything from Parak Mem out afterwards is different Navi. But that's not kosher.
Now, which one does our Gemara leave out? Our Gemara leaves out Abraham. Okay, so I would like to refer you to the Malbim here. In terms of understanding these three ways of learning. Again, Targum Yebusem ben Uziel learns that this was an allegory just to give over to Klal Yisrael the message how Hashem is not going to exchange them. The Ibn Ezra learns that he saw this in a Nevuah, and the Gemara seems to learn it Kipshutai that he did do this. So let's see the Malbim.
There's a whole section that talks about Hoshea in the
Let's see.
Chumash in the beginning of right after Bamidbar, which there's a whole section, a whole page.
Okay, so let's take a look here in the Malbim on Pasuk Beis. The Malbim says like this. Tchilas dibar Hashem b'Hoshea. The beginning of God speaking to Hoshea. Well, says the Malbim, Udiber sha'acharav Beis, a word with a Beis afterwards, Ba'aruach HaKodesh. In other words, what does it mean? Tchilas dibar Hashem b'Hoshea. The beginning of God speaking b'Hoshea. What do you mean b'Hoshea? So whenever you have diber and bi, refers to Ruach HaKodesh. Shadoiver b'Hanavi, that speaks in the Navi, litzarkai, for his needs, loy litzar shlichos l'chlalas ha'am, not for his message for the general people. In other words, Tchilas Dir Hashem b'Hoshea. This is Ruach HaKodesh that is needed for the Navi himself, not necessarily for his mission to the rest of Klal Yisrael. The Gamba al Dibur shel Tluna v'Tarumas. It's also a form of complaint.
But it says in the Torah v'dibalta bom.
No, that's not Nevuah. That's not referring to Nevuah. Here, Diber with Bi, it doesn't just mean bum, that's the word is bum. Here it's b'Hoshea. So here, according to the Malbim, when you have the word diber to a Navi, bi, it's referring to specifically for his needs and not for the needs of the people, and it's a form of complaint. This was a speech of Ruach HaKodesh to Hoshea, shehizvakach imoi, that he argued with him, Eza vikuach, an argument. This was a form of quarreling. This was the beginning of the confrontation. What does this mean? So Malbim explains, from this argument, nistavev, it came about, Hashem Amar El Hoshea, that Hashem said to Hoshea, Lech kach lecha Eishes Zanunim. Umistama haya havikuach mesyaches el atzivoy shaba acharav. From this argument, it came about that Hashem said to Hoshea, take an Eish Zanunim, and this argument is attributed to the command that comes after it. V'darshu, she'Hashem amar l'Hoshea, she'Yisrael chatu. Chazal darshan, that Hashem said to Hoshea, the Klal Yisrael have sinned. But Hoshea, heishiv loy hechlifein be'uma acheres. Hashem amar, she'yevshel loy lahachlifam, ki heim banav. Ya'kein tziva loy lakachas isha zoyna, B'achar kach k'sheyoldo loy banim tziva loy lagarsha, like we read in the Gemara Pesachim. V'Hoshea amar ich efsheli lagarsha lo yesh li mimena banim umizeh birur loy Hashem shekein efshel loy lagarsha Yisrael b'chazar Hoshea ubercham. In a v'zeh hoya tshuva ala vikuach sheHashem amar loy sheYisrael chatu. This was the answer to the argument that Hashem said the Jewish people sinned. Hainu sharatza sheilech b'shlichos lohichicham ulachzim lemutav. He wanted to go on a mission to reprimand them. Shezeh mutal anavim. This is the job of the Navi. Chumash kazav achakach rivu beimchem rivu. V'Hoshea lo ratza leilech b'shlichos lenevuos ulohichiach.
Why? He's a Navi. He's not going to do what HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him to do.
In other words, Hoshea didn't want to do the job.
Checked out.
Sounds like Hoshea did not want to do the job. Why? Because once a woman is unfaithful to the husband, you don't say, Sheifala, don't do it again. Naughty, naughty, naughty. You know what? I'm going to take away your credit card, and then next week, no, she's out. She's out.
Not always.
Halachically, right? Yeah. But halachically, asur l'baal v'asur l'baya, right? So Hoshea said, "Look, the Klal Yisrael is unfaithful. I'm done. I'm one and done. It's over. What do you want? What do you want me to do? Tell them not to do it? They're away from you."
Did the freshman say whether this owner was Jewish or not?
We're going to get to the Mount. Yes.
If it wasn't Jewish, you wouldn't have that problem, right?
No, 1 second. If she was not Jewish,
and there's no asur l'bala, right?
That's a machlokes rishonim, whether there's an isur soita. Oh, no. If you're married to a Jewish woman, if you're married to a Jewish woman and she lives with a guy, then it's a machlokes if she is asur to the Baal, right? It's a machlokes in Tosfos and Ksubis about when Esther lived with Achashverosh, does it create an isser to Mordechai? Right? Echad l'baal v'echad l'bayal. V'amar lei, shlo yishtadel lahachziram lemutav, ki achar shazanu elahei necha roi, she'inag imam, kim ish shazoino, she'yishalcha abal mibayis lo yoshvei la'oid. V'amar lei Hashem, im kein achar sha'ata ein choretz lechicham. If you don't want to rebuke them, lahachziram lemutav, ani eini roitz legarsham, I don't want to divorce them, achar she'yishim gam banim tzadikim, heyei ata kamoini, then you be like me. Here, Rabbi say, we'll hold it over here, and we'll pick it up.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.